Okay then, it says that we are live. Awesome. Hello there everyone, welcome to tonight's live stream. I am Chris at Speaker's Corner, and today we have three other guests with us. We have Mel from Islamic Origins. I almost said Sneakers Corner then, that was his old channel. We have DanielApologetics from his channel DanielApologetics, and we have Bob of Speaker's Corner with us. And in this live stream tonight, we're going to be going through the Quranic material that borrows from other sources. Material that is not unique to the Quran. The Quran has obviously borrowed it from other places and has used it, either stolen it, copied it, or plagiarized it in some sense. And we're going to go through some of those tonight. It's not going to be exhaustive. There's a ton of stuff that we could go through, but if we were to do that, we would be here all week. So instead, we have selected just a few key things to talk about, and we're going to go through that on tonight's stream. So how are you guys doing?
Good. Pretty good.
Awesome. Good stuff.
I'm also
good to go.
doing well, thank you. I'm also doing
Nice,
well, thank
nice.
you very much.
By the grace of God.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Indeed, indeed. So I think then a good place to kind of start off would be with you, Daniel, if you're all good with that. I have heard that perhaps you have some slides you would like to share.
That is right. The rumors on the street is correct. And I have learned how to do this now, so you cannot make a meme of me like last time.
You're now a pro at sharing slides.
Yes, I can press 3 buttons correct way and order. So let's go. Can you guys see this?
Yep, I've got that up now.
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, you guys can see it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so for those who follow my channel will know that I had Chris on a couple of weeks ago, and we went through because basically I made start of the year 2024. I made 8 YouTube shorts with myths, legends, and fables in the Quran, and I basically got 4 types of comments by Muslims to these videos, and me and Chris went over them on my channel. So I will not go into that here now. You guys can check those out or that video out later. But what I'm presenting here is today we'll focus on one because for the sake of time, like Chris said. So I'll be focusing on Dhul-Qarnayn in Surah 18, Surah Al-Kahf. And this is probably the most damaging, traceable myth in Allah's eternal verbatim word. And for many reasons, like we will see. Alexander the Great, he was extremely popular. People made fictions and stories about him. And already 700 years plus before Islam and Muhammad came to the scene, Alexander was on coins. Like he was the main coinage, even in Arabia, thanks to the Arab ruler Abiel. And you see Dhul-Qarnayn, the name, that means the 2-horned one. And what do we find on these coins? Well, we find Alexander the Great with 2 horns, 2 ram horns to be precise. And there is a reason why most early scholars and early Muslims in the past and even present, including the famous scholar and Quran translator Yusuf Ali, was sure that Dhul-Qarnayn was indeed Alexander the Great. Because, like I say, very popular, spread out. And but before I continue with a little bit with the historical critique, let me just mention that Surah 18 is problematic in of itself in other areas, if it is indeed the verbatim eternal word of Allah, Kalam Allah. So you guys see here on a quick example, and I encourage to read the full surah for the context, but let me just read this very quickly. We'll start in Surah 18, verse 83. And they ask you about Dhul-Qarnayn. Say, I shall recite to you something of his story. Rarely, we established him in the earth. We gave him the means of everything. So he followed the way until when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a spring of black, muddy, or hot water. And he found near it a people. We, Allah, said by inspiration, O Dhul-Qarnayn, either you punish them or you treat them with kindness. Now, notice that this is not from Dhul-Qarnayn's perspective of what he thought he saw. Allah, the God of the universe, he's the narrator here. And also, if you don't know what a spring is not an ocean, by the way. Just look that up, hydrology. This is basically like water just coming out of the ground, like a little pot. It can be a little bit bigger than that, but that's where the sun sets. And I think we can be very, very happy that that is not the case. Because, well, I don't know, like... I
like the illustration.
Like if we try to... if the sun set in a spring on Earth, where it lived a people, guys, we would all die. In fact, we would die just if the sun changed angle and distance just a little bit. It's like a part of the fine-tuning argument for God's existence even. Like, bye-bye photosynthesis, for example. Like, we will not have any photosynthesis if the sun just slightly moved angle or distance. So, someone should tell Allah, aka Muhammad, that little warm, shiny thing on the sky in the desert in Arabia is actually 1 million times bigger in size than the Earth. But what if the God of the universe, what if he meant something different? Like, how about we, maybe we could ask someone like Prophet Muhammad, like who is better to interpret, which human is better to interpret the Quran than Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam himself? Let's go to Sunan Abi Dawud, 4002. It was narrated, Abu Dar said, I was riding behind the Messenger of Allah while he was on a donkey, and the sun was setting. He said, do you know where this sun set? I said, Allah and his messenger know best. He said, it sets in a spring of warm water. And it's Sahih. Muhammad confirms. So, oops. But I guess we'll just read on. But that was just a little bit of... I know that there are many more problems with this surah, but that was just to point out. I am aware of it, but we don't have time to go through them all. Alexander the Great, he was such a great warrior that he himself thought that he was God. Like, that is a problem because he's not only a Muslim in the Quran, he's a prophet. He's one of the prophets. Alexander the Great, he was a pagan. He was a pansexual pagan, and he thought he was a god. So pretty much shirk and the worst kind of Muslim you can think of. But either way, he is one of the prophets in Islam, and I'll show you why in a minute. We can go to... just looking at the screen here, I would, like I said, encourage people to read the Alexander Romance, collection of myths and legends about Alexander the Great, and contrast it with Surah 18 Al-Kahf. Because if you do, what will you find? I know there's a little bit delay on YouTube, so I will take a little sip of water, not camel urine.
Yeah, that's
can you guys
good.
See that? Is it okay? It's come on screen. Yeah. So I'm gonna read from Professor Kevin van Bladel, and he is a scholar from Yale in Near Eastern languages and civilizations, and from his book The Alexander Legend in the Quran, Surah 1883 to 102. This is from page 182, and he says, thus, quite strikingly, almost every element of this short Quranic tale finds a more explicit and detailed counterpart in the Syriac Alexander legend, in both the related events and given in precisely the same order. As it is, the correspondence shows earlier are still so exact that it is obvious in comparison that the two texts are at least connected very closely. They relate the same story in precisely the same order of events, using many of the same particular details. Now, what is he trying to say here? Like, you guys, in case you guys don't really get what he's trying to say here, let me try and, with this next slide, to make it more obvious. I don't know if to come on the screen, a little bit delay, but yeah, here is the thing.
Got it.
Yeah, you got it. And here is the thing. The two-horned one, like, how can I say this? Like, if you read these two, and the Surah Al-Kahf and the Syriac Alexander in the Syriac legend, you basically find keywords in the same order, precisely the same order, and much the same specific words. Like you see how I put on the screen, the two-horned one, the established with power, a journey to the muddy seat, punishment of the wrongdoers, sun rises on people with no cover, travel to the valley between two mountains, Gog and Magog, spoil and ravage of the land, built a barrier, made of iron and brass, cannot be breached, and destroyed at the end times. So we have 12 very, very similar keywords in the same order, and basically this is equivalent to, if I say a superhero with red and blue jumpsuits, made by Marvel, lives in New York City, got superhuman powers after bitten by a radioactive spider, shoots spiderweb out from his hands. Who is it? Not Spider-Man. Not Spider-Man. Definitely not Spider-Man. That is the equivalent. So, come on, guys. There's a reason why.
It's a Muslim prophet.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, basically, there's a reason why the majority consensus from past, present, and future believe that this is, in fact, Alexander the Great, Dhul-Qarnayn.
Just to jump in as well,
yeah.
those 12 phrases you've mentioned, like all of those, they sum up like the entire thing, right? You can basically just read from one to the other, and that covers all the main points in the story. Like Gog and Magog is there, building a barrier, iron and brass can't be breached. The sun rises on people and it sets. Wow, it's everything. That's all the main points. Wow, so it's clearly copying from this Syriac Alexander legend.
Can I jump in there? If that were a password with 12 characters, the chances of having a password with all 12 in the right order like that are 1,000,000,000 to 1. So that is clearly, to a mathematical certainty, borrowed from those sources.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. I mean, this is not something you can
by
just...
coincidence.
No, you can't just hand-wave this. You cannot hand-wave this, given the Islamic claims and view of the Quran. This is quite serious critique and polemic, and it's just going with historical sources. Like, this is traceable legends and myths and fables, and it's right there in Surah Al-Kahf. And I don't know if the audience heard you, Chris, but mine was lagging or going out a little bit. So could you just, for the sake of me at least, repeat what you were saying?
Which bit? About the 12 different things, or
as soon as you jumped in to comment on this slide, because my audio. I don't know if it was same for audience. Yeah.
I'm guessing it wasn't just your audio. I'm guessing it was mine, and therefore I guess most people couldn't hear me there because my internet's cutting out a little bit. But I was just saying that those 12 points, they cover the main parts of the story, of the narratives, right? Like you have Gog Magog, iron and brass, all that stuff. So yeah, like Mel kind of touched on it even more and said, well, what are the odds of you getting all those main themes? It's basically just not possible, right? Like that has to be intentional copying.
Yeah. I mean,
just another thing.
Sorry.
Go on, Bob.
I was just going to say, if you were a teacher in a school and you saw two papers that had that level of similarity, you would definitely start asking, were these two sat too close together? And the thing is,
it would fail the plagiarism test.
It would. It would. But the Quran itself acknowledges that ancient people picked up on this as well. People at the time of the Quran picked up on what we're picking up on, because the Quran responds to them. It responds to their allegation, and it repeats their allegation. So, for example, in Surah 8, Ayah 31, it says, when our signs are rehearsed to them, that being the Quran, to them, they say, we have heard this before. If we wished, we could say words like these are nothing but the tales of the ancients. And this would fit very well with Alexander the Great, who was a man of great renown in the whole region. Stories abound of him. He was looked up to. And yeah, so, so for the Quran to be touching on Dhul-Qarnayn in a story that matches already existing stories, of course the Arabs are just going to turn around and say, we've heard this. You're not telling us anything new here.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
But you can deny it. You can deny that it's Alexander the Great, but then basically you would be the same person, if not even, it's even worse with Alexander the Great. Like, you would be the person then who would say that a superhero with red and blue jumpsuit made by Marvel lives in New York City and got superhuman powers after bitten by a radioactive spider and shoots spiderweb out from his hands is not Spider-Man. That is the equivalent, and that's
love that analogy, by the way.
Yeah, that is the equivalent. And like I said, this is not something you can just brush to the side and hand wave, because given the Islamic claims about the Quran, it is a serious critique, and that was also the case for Musa Sarantino. I don't know if you guys can see this on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Musa Sarantino was a former Muslim preacher and recruiter for ISIS. So when he was in prison, he read the Alexander legend together with Surah 18, because that was one of the stories that he was puzzled on. And he apostatized. Like, I quote him here, realizing that Dhul-Qarnayn was not at all a real person, but rather based on a fictional account of Alexander the Great, instantly left me with the only one possible conclusion. The Quran was not divinely inspired. And I echo that. That is the conclusion that I come to also. But before I end my presentation, let me just end with a very common objection to what I've been presented here. And that is, can you guys see this on screen? Still a little bit delay. There we go. Yep. This is one of the most common objections to what I've been presented here, and that is it not all meant to be a metaphor, like meant to be a fiction with lessons to learn? Kind of a little bit like Sheikh Shabir Ali, a little bit the direction that he has turned into the recent years. Now, there are several problems with this statement, but again, we are 4 people here, so I'll make it quick. Here is one of the biggest one. In Surah 18, 99 to 102, Allah confirms and elaborates on a prophecy by Dhul-Qarnayn in Surah 18, verse 98, that Allah will destroy the barrier that holds back Gog and Magog. And this is mentioned again in Surah 21, 96. So therefore, it must be intended as a true account with future consequences. And with that, I will just finish and just say that there are more. You can get like introduction to these myths and legends in the Quran on my channel with recent shorts I posted. And like this meme that comes up here, I couldn't said it better. I'm starting to see a pattern here, like something is not right with the Quran and its claims.
Expected in a book by a 7th century Arab in a desert?
Yes!
Expected in a book that is Kalam Allah, the verbatim, uncreated and eternal Quran, word of the God?
Nope.